after that, because one time I got really scolded by an older Japanese person. Um, Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome to episode 120 of the podcast. A little bit longer than I expected, better than I expected as well. Some helpful information. I just pulled up a list from online, talked about a few things, let you guys know what's going on around Tokyo as far as the corona situation is going. Things are opening back up. We'll see what happens with that. I don't know. But just a quick update with that, and I get into and some other you know, BS in normal Akil fashion. But besides that, I think a good episode. The list at the end, I think, is going to be really, really helpful. I dropped a few gems on you in there. So give it a listen, as always, and enjoy. Yo, 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 what's going on? Welcome to episode 120 of the episode. As you've heard me cough before, you're probably going to hear me cough or see me cough, depending on how you're consuming this content. Several times during this episode, I'm kind of, I don't know, the weather change or whatever has had impact health-wise on my family. A little cough bug has been going around, so to everyone the past, like, I'd say week and a half, maybe. And so it's running its course through me. I've had a bit of a cough before, but it seems like it's working my way through my system now, which is exactly why I'm drinking some red wine. My apologies for if you're watching me. This glass is not really classy at all, but when it's late at night and I'm drinking by myself, I'm not digging through to find like the nice wine glasses, because they're like in what's that, not a drawer, like a section of the cabinet that's like a little bit tougher for me to get to, and I'm just like, fuck it, nobody else is around, so let me just get a regular drinking glass and the wino glass. So, so that's how I rock late at night. It's your first time actually seeing me drink wine. Like, I'm not gonna pretend to be classy for you guys. Sorry, but at least I'm not drinking from the bottle, right? Well, I occasionally do that. I'm not gonna lie, if it's late at night and like the wine bottle is almost empty, I'm like, fuck it. Nobody will know. Nobody will ever know. Too late. All right, whatever. Anyway, so because of that, again, I had like a lesson earlier today, an online lesson, and my cough was kind of bothering me a bit. So I'm gonna try to limit this episode in length, just so that like I don't end up like hacking up a lung, in front of you guys, and you guys think Akil's gonna die. Oh my god! Like, no, I'm fine. Just, just a little bit of a cough, so it's cool. So okay. So anyway, let's just get into things. What I have for today. So the big news of the day, which I'm recording this on what the fuck is today? What the fuck is today? May 21st. So it's May 21st, and the big news for the day is that Osaka, the Kansai area, or the Kinki area, is opening up. That's Osaka, that's Kyoto. Today they're opening up, and everyone's flooding into. I was just watching the news, and G.I. Joe, by the way. G.I. Joe. I was watching G.I. Joe on YouTube, getting ready for this shit. Damn, G.I. Joe was a violent show. I used to watch that shit as a kid. Sidebar. Like, if you don't know what G.I. Joe is, like, just, you got it. And you might not know what G.I. Joe is, but it's a really American show. And from the 80s, I used to watch it as a kid. It was fucking cool as shit. Like, and, because of this situation, the corona situation, apparently Hasbro, the maker of the toy and the cartoon, released, like, a lot of episodes online. So, I randomly one day I just watched them and put it on the TV, and it just popped up on my timeline now on like YouTube on the TV. So getting ready for here, I was just like, fuck it, let me watch some G.I. Joe. And every time I watch it, I'm just astounded at how fucking violent that show is. Like, I'm like, damn, I used to watch this shit as a kid. Like, it's like, no joke, as an adult, it's kind of like, it's like a fucking Fast and Furious movie. It's like the craziest action, people jumping out of planes, shooting lasers at each other, beating each other up. It's just fucking ridiculous. Like, like no joke. Someone's getting shot at or beat up like every like 5 minutes of the show. But I'm like, I used to watch this shit as a kid. Like, I don't want my kid watching this shit. Times have just changed, man. Like, cause I mean, as an adult, I'm like, this shit's fucking hard. Like, damn, Joe's getting it, but I'm only watching this shit myself as an adult, and it's just like half comical, half like way over the top and cool. But it's just kind of interesting, like seeing some of the shit that influenced me, and I'm just like, fuck, like no way in hell I'm gonna let my kid watch that. No way in hell. I'm sorry, call me a soft parent, but dude, it's just guns and violence and like fucking explosions and terrorism. That's all it is. Like, and patriotism. Like, that's it. But hey, whatever. Anyway, so I was watching some G.I. Joe and then watching Japanese news. So yeah, the main thing is that Japan is opening back up. Kansai area, like I said, the main cities are Osaka and Kyoto and several other in that area, which they're putting out through news leaks and things like that. The Tokyo area is going to open up, probably going to open up on Monday, or they're going to announce the opening on Monday, whatever the fuck. Well, they kind of announced it today or yesterday. I don't know when the fuck they announced it. I haven't watched the news the past few days, but so I'm guessing Monday, if it leaks on the news, that's kind of the government's way of preparing the people for it. So I'm thinking that's what's going to happen. It doesn't really affect me. I'm not going to go to work that first week, because I'll just let you know a little bit, like how my main job works is kind of on a monthly kind of schedule basis. So, I'm on paid holiday. I'll be on paid leave until they, reopen everything. So that doesn't really affect my pay for May that much, and not enough for me to want to go dashing out into the streets. Like fuck that. So, and I think the same thing goes for the first week of June as well. So I got at least like a week and a half to 2 weeks of leeway where I haven't put in the schedule yet for that time, because I kind of figured like at this month that June everything will open up. So I put in my schedule only like I'm a freelancer basically, so I don't have to put in a full schedule. So I only put in like one day at the end of the month, because I kind of figured this would happen. Like, things open up early in June. I'm not trying to be the first one in the door. I prefer to kind of see how things shake out, get a feeling for the landscape before I kind of stick my toe back into the water. And so that's kind of how I'm going to play it, especially with my family, depending on other members of my family and their schedule and stuff like that. I at least want the leeway to be able to support whoever needs whatever they need me to do, at least in the beginning, until things kind of settle in. So that's kind of how I'm playing it by ear. So it really won't affect me too much in the immediate. Don't really know how I feel about, everything opening back up. Yeah, we'll just kind of see what happens. I kind of figured a month or two will close back up anyway, just because the natural flow of how this thing is going. Let me make sure that's not okay. Oh, let me make sure this is recording too. Yep, it is. So I don't know. We'll see. But again, my dire prediction from about a month ago, or end of March. I forgot when I predicted, body bags all over the streets of Japan. I'm kind of happy, really happy that didn't play out that way. One of my friends, we were going back and forth, and he showed me a picture of like how the Spanish plague played out, and the second wave of it was so much worse than the first wave. I was like, God damn it, look, don't show me that. So I don't know what's gonna happen from now on, but I'm just trying to be cautiously optimistic, and I'm not gonna go out like having drinking parties and going all crazy. Taking my ass to work, taking my ass back home, keeping my ass in the house as much as possible, and encourage my family to do the same thing. Just staying diligent. What the fuck am I talking about? As long as possible. So I encourage you to do the same thing. But yeah, that's about that for that. I can't getting ready because I had no idea what the fuck I was gonna talk about tonight. Um, because there really isn't shit to talk about. Like nothing's happening. Everyone's just in limbo. I'm sure. It's just like, okay, are we gonna open? When are we gonna open? What's going on? So I found a quick article, which of course, you can check the description. That April travel in Japan dropped 99.9% year over year in April, which is damn, damn. That's a lot of people just gone. Interesting part about that for me is, again, industries. A lot of industries are just really, really hurting. Hotel industry, restaurant, food, service industry, airports, clothing, retailers, fuck taxis, in Japan. These are all like really, really. In your country, it might not be huge, especially for example, because if you live in the States, Uber, things like that. But the taxi industry, you might have heard me talk about it before. It has a real monopoly on these things. Uber's been blocked from Japan, so these like really staple jobs in Japan are really just getting like fucking demolished, like just blopped over the head, and me personally, I'm thinking like I was talking to my family about it recently. Like it's just gonna be a slow. Sounds kind of fucking whatever. I'll just be real with you. Like it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a slow death for a lot of not a lot. Let me not say a lot. Some businesses, we who aren't able to adjust to the new normal that's gonna be coming. Especially because the demand that was seen before is just not going to be there. Just because you open some shit back up does not mean everyone's going to be like, okay, time in, we're going to, let's play some more. Like, no. And with, again, social distancing and like I was just saying before, people wanting to stay home and not really willing to not willing or able to live life like the way that they lived before. It's really going to be interesting to see how Japan handles this and how the government, different industries handle it. Yeah, I'm expecting again, especially if a second wave comes, it's going to be crazy. Speaking of which, the Japanese government's response to the first wave is still like is becoming coming under huge criticism because still no Abe, no masks. I got to tell you, the stimulus from the Japanese government, I think that was approved like last month or something like that. From like April, it still has not arrived for most people. The main thing that's going on is kind of so Japanese is. So basically, I guess early this month or whatever, the government was like, okay, we're taking online applications. And the problem is, like, they just weren't able to handle the online applications, and there were some mistakes with the application form and confusion and da-da-da. So I saw on the news yesterday, like, one, the local city offices are handling all of these stimulus applications, and I forgot. I want to say either 3,000 or 30,000 or 300,000. I forgot. It was a three. I remember that, but I forgot which number. It was more than 3,000. It was either 30 or 300,000. Probably 300,000 would be what I would imagine. Half of them. Half of those online applications were rejected, basically, because of for various reasons, mistakes, inadequate paperwork, whatever. So pretty much a lot of the prefectures are just stopping or asking people not to apply online anymore, basically, and they're just saying just wait for the paper application form, which will come late this month. So I mean. I'm American, and I was also able to get American stimulus check, which came a few weeks ago, which is a hell of a lot faster than the Japanese one. Like, and the Japanese one probably won't. Like the paperwork might come next week, and the money itself might arrive like mid next month maybe. Which is it's just like that's kind of how Japan works. Like again, That's like I said, the process here is much more important than the result. So the process of actually going through everything, making sure everything's okay, you know, is more important than getting people the money that need it. I'm not hurting for the money. I have plans what I'm gonna use it for, but the point is like that is kind of some of the things that hinder people. I feel for the people who are in dire straits and actually need that fucking money. Like, people who are really financially strapped who have been trying to hold on for like, and they're probably gonna keep having to hold on. And by the time they get it, they're just still gonna be fucked. So, mm, like I would say that's kind of one of the things that separate things in Japan. It's like the process is not it's the process, not the result. So, you're going to have to deal with the process of doing things here. And just take it on the chin a lot of times. Like that's why I said like, you keep having a stock of money, having not just in food and things like that comes in handy when you're not like in desperate straits. You can kind of deal with these type of situations a bit better, versus like someone who's down to their last penny, who's just like come checking the mailbox every day. Like, come on, I even heard like when they opened up the online registration, it just got flooded with shit and just crashed the whole system anyway. So, I mean, I kind of I figured that was gonna happen. So I was just like, fuck it. I told you before, I'm just waiting for the paper to come. Just because like I kind of figured all this shit would happen anyway. So it's what you have to deal with when you live in this country. So that's kind of like a interesting development, and we'll see what happens with that. There was something else I wanted to talk about related to that. I can't really remember what else. What else I want to say? Really, there was something that was just in my head related to. I can't remember. Anyway, let's just move forward, shall we? All right. So today, because I was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna talk about. I was just looking for an article, something to talk about, and I just wanted to do something cultural again. No soccer remark for me. I'm just, like I said, I'm not back in my normal rhythm, so it's just I don't consume any real products outside the house. Like I mostly everything I eat and consume is just like right here around me. So there's no real point in me like talking about consumer products. I'm just not in that mind frame right now. I'm all you got. I'm all you got right now. Sorry, man. Sorry. Okay. All right. But anyway, this article that we've got, 50 Japanese manners and customs. I'm not gonna go through the whole thing because I think like the top like 10 or 15 of them are pretty much the only ones that are interesting or I have something to contribute to. But I do encourage you to go through and look at the article. It's like 60 of them. It's kind of a lot of them. Some of them overlap with stuff I've talked about before, so I'm not gonna go in depth on everything. But I'll give you what I got to give you. All right. So here we go. Number one is eating directly from common dishes, right? And this is kind of like table manners. I was looking at an article related to table manners, but I might save that for another day or just say fuck it. But yeah, here's the thing. So like if you're not familiar with how Japanese people eat, I really wasn't before I came here. If you go to like someone's house or a house party, things like that, or a restaurant as well. I have talked about this before, or a restaurant as well. Remember, you're not gonna just order one dish like I want pasta. I'm just gonna eat my pasta. This is my plate. Don't touch my shit. It's not like that. You order several different dishes. It's not one main dish. It's generally either one main dish and lots of side dishes, or just an amalgamation of side dishes is kind of what you're gonna get, right? So. Excuse me, sorry about that. So what you're not gonna do is have so one big plate. You're gonna have common dishes, as they're called in the article, which is a really good name for them. Common dishes and your own personal torizala, which is your dish to take stuff, right? This is almost directly translated. But so pretty much what you're gonna do is take stuff from the common dish, put it on your own personal side dish. That's what I call your personal side dish, and then eat it from there. You Number one, don't eat directly from the common dishes. Don't just like wolf some stuff, from a common dish and shove it in your mouth and keep doing that. That's kind of rude, right? Especially when you're not around people that you know. Like I actually did that in dinner tonight. Sorry, I actually told you. I actually did that in dinner tonight. Just I was conscious of it too. I was like, okay, I took 2 bites of it. I was like, I know I'm being a little bit rude right now, but fuck it. It's just like, fuck it. And but at a house party or something, that's something I just would not do, right? Put it on, even if you just touch it. It's kind of, I know it's kind of like, seems like a wasted motion, but it's just, again, the process of respectfully, it's, taking something from a common thing, making it your own personal thing, and then your own personal thing, putting that in your mouth is a completely different mechanism than just like wolfing down common dishes. So make sure you do that, and your people will have a better respect for your table manners. I don't care if it's just a second. For me, is if it's something really good as well. 2 scoops of it onto your side dish, and just wait. Like, you don't want to just be like, me first kind of thing. Like when you're eating with Japanese people, even if it's something like really good and you're like, ooh, I want the last piece. You gotta just hold on, man. Trust me, just hold on, and people will love you for it. Number 2, paying the check. And this, splitting the check is common amongst friends or even on a date. It's known as betsu betsu or walikan. But but yeah, it is kind of case by case. Like I will. But you have to be careful, right, with this. And I'll tell you a story. Like, especially with older people. They talk about in business situations, it's not acceptable to split the check. Usually the company that's selling something pays. It's customary to pretend you want to pay or fight about it, but you shouldn't be taken seriously. I would say if this is not the case if you're a younger person. If you're a younger person, don't even reach for your wallet. I mean, don't expect it, but just kind of like, oh, really? Just like, oh, really? Oh, thank you so much. That is kind of the way to do it. Like, just like you're surprised, like, oh, and look surprised and look confused, like, oh, really? Oh, and humbled, like, oh, okay, thank you so much. And after that, because one time I got really scolded by an older Japanese person, and after that I kind of learned my lesson. What happened was one of my former students, a guy, he was a bit, in the construction business, really cool guy. He used to be like in a motorcycle gang when he was younger, but he's like chill now. He's older. I haven't talked to him in like 6 or 7 years. Lost contact with him, but he for some time he was kind of mentoring me at the time, and you're really close. We were really close, and he was my private student and things like that, and now he owns like a construction company, stuff like that. Has a pretty good life, and so he took me out to like a steak place or something like that, and we ate, and it was time to pay, and he went to the register to pay, and I followed him, and I was like, oh, should I help? And then he was like, what? He's like, what did you say to me? Like, in front of the staff. Like, I'd never seen him get pissed off at me like that, And of course, he was drinking a little bit. But he was like, can you pay for all this? Can you pay for all this? Do you want to pay for all this? And I was like, because it was kind of like expensive dinner. And I was just like, I mean, the way I'm saying it sounds a lot more aggressive than it was. I mean, he was offended, but he wasn't like, fuck you, motherfucker. It wasn't like training day or anything, But I was kind of like, oh no. He's like, yeah, so no, don't do that. Like, he was just like, don't do that. Like, and basically what he was telling me, like, if we're talking about money, we're talking about money. Like, talk about money, but we're not talking about money. So don't bring the money into our relationship, into our conversation. We don't have a money relationship, so don't fucking talk about money with me. It's kind of what he was telling me, and after that, I kind of like apologized. He was like, it's okay, but just like, just remember that, kind of like, he's like, just don't do that shit again. And after that, like, I made it my rule of thumb, like, in just everything in life and in business. And going back to if you remember that hostess bar situation, I reflected back on that after this situation as well, and it was like, you gotta let the man be the man. If someone's the man in a situation, like if someone or the woman or whatever, like not discriminating, but if someone's like the top person in that situation, let them be that person. Is kind of something that I would say to remember here in Japan. It's kind of a respect thing. Like, yeah, hey, you got it, thank you so much. I mean, don't be like kicking back, yeah, man, pay that shit, like nothing like that, but be respectful, but allow that person to play their position, and you should play your position. Knowing your position in a group here is really, really important. And I think that was, I can think probably the last time I kind of made that type of mistake. And so you need to kind of really much think about the group dynamics of the situation that you're in. Are you the guest? You're not expected to do anything. Are you a customer again? Are you, for example, a guest of honor, for example? Or are you a junior person? Are you a senior person? Like, again, if you're a senior person, you're probably expected to pay. Is it equal kind of thing? Like, those are kind of things that are expected. If it's a date, some women, again, on a date, like, I would say, betsu betsu or walikan is kind of, it's a slippery slope, I would say. Because as a guy, you kind of look like you're cheap if you're just running around going betsu betsu on everything. If it depends on the type of person you're with. It depends on how old you are. It depends on how much you know that person. If you're just hanging out with a person, I would say you might want to go half on things. But if there's a possibility of being romantic with the person on a first date, you might even want to go half, because the woman might not want you to want to feel like she owes you something, quote unquote, if you know what I'm saying, for the dinner. So depending on how independent she is, so it's a lot of different factors that go into it. But for me, definitely with older people, you have to understand that you gotta let the man be the fucking man, and don't make any overt gestures, especially like if you're going to a place. You gotta think about it. If someone's especially in that situation, I really embarrassed him because he took me to a place that he knows and the people that he knows. So I kind of wasn't letting him be the man in that situation, because he's introducing me to his peoples, and I'm like, hey, let me pay, and he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, so just don't do that type of shit at all. Like, it's a real faux pas. All right. 3, pouring your own drinks. Yeah, that's a no. Definitely, you should never pour your own drinks at a party with the Japanese people at all, like ever. Especially in the older, the more it's no. Younger people, they might like slide, but older people, if you're hanging out with old Japanese people older than you, or you're never supposed to do that. It's easily rectifiable though. It's a little bit annoying, but it's a little bit it's easily rectifiable. If your drink is low and no one notices it, and you want some more, grab a beer bottle and offer to pour someone else a drink, right? Either they'll hurry up and finish it, or just like, oh, thank you, and then they'll pour yours. So pretty much, you put out the energy that you want to receive. So again, like, oh shit, my glass is almost low. You look around, nobody knows, no one's noticing. If no one notices, that's kind of on them, actually. They're kind of not being good party guests, and you're obligated to do the same. Look at the person again. If their glass gets like, an easy way for me, like, if depending on what you're drinking, how fast you're drinking, if a person's, let's say beer, right? This is easy. If someone's drinking a glass of beer, and it gets like a little under half of a glass, is a good time to just pour their drink. And for you, like, if you're not like a fast drinker, or you're not trying to get fucked up, I'm always trying to get fucked up, so like, it's never a problem with me, but for me, but if not trying to get fucked up, I'm down to get fucked up, let's say that. So let me check this camera. Okay, not camera, my fucking phone. um, so like I would say, uh, yeah, you know, if you're not trying to, pour their drink, and then when they offer it to you, just say no, you're okay. It's fine. But you're supposed the person on your left, person on the right, person in front of you, or directly across from you. You just it's kind of annoying, but you gotta just monitor what they're drinking. If their glass is empty and they have to pour their own, it's kind of a faux pas on you. You're a foreign person, they might not know that, but again, these are kind of one of the little points, Kool-Aid points that you can get. So like if you do that throughout the course of a dinner, Japanese people really notice it, and they really take a shining to you, and it's like, look at this person's manners, oh my gosh, like, and if some another Japanese person doesn't do it, you'll hear them, look, this motherfucker's doing this shit, and you don't know how to do it, like, and that kind of helps you acclimate yourself into a group even a lot faster. So, don't make a big deal out of it. Just like the coolest thing you can do is if the person's not looking, if you can pour a person's drink when they're not looking, and then don't sit, and then you just look away, and then they just like magically see that beer, appeared in their glass, and then they just look at you like, oh shit, he did it, he knows. they love it. They love it. So just try that and keep that in mind. Shaking and bowing. Yeah, shaking hands is very common in Japan. There's no reason to bow unless you're is familiar with the custom. I would say so. When the longer you're here, you get kind of used to like a more small kind of like head nod kind of kind of thing. There's nothing really to worry about so much. I just say be yourself. No matter what you do, as long as it's respectful, people will embrace the intention that you give. So if you want to high five people, if you want to hug people, well, I don't know about hugging, but what I'm saying, like, it was up or whatever, people will kind of accept you if you do it with like an open spirit and open heart. So don't worry too much about that. Um, seating position is a bitch. The seating position is a bitch. I'll just tell you that right now. It's something that is infinitely complicated. If you're looking to work in Japan, it's something you're gonna need to study and need to understand. But if you're just like here, the easiest thing to do, if you're again a guest, the easiest thing to do, when all else fails, just stop, look all confused. Like, that's all I do. I just pretend like I'm confused, like, hesitate, like, and then someone will come along and guide you where you need to go. Like, the number one thing to do is look like a deer in headlights. In a situation, and someone will come along to help you. Like, that's pretty much actually the best thing that you can do, because it's a lot more difficult for people to, if you sit down and then they have to tell you, no, we need you to move over here, and then like, just wait until they're ready to seat you where you need to be seated. Then that's kind of the thing to do. Don't just grab a seat. Don't just be like, "Ooh, this one's open." Like, don't do that, because there's a method to everything that goes along. Who's sitting next to who, and who's the guest, and things like that. So yeah, just trust me. All right. 6. Yukata to breakfast. Yeah, yukatas, again, just some pajamas in hotels. I'm terrible at these. My wife is always like, "You're showing your junk." Like, I'm just like, well, I got my legs all open. I'm just like, She's like, "Dude, fucking cover up." Like, I'm just like, hey, give them a show. Give the people what they want. so, I don't really have much to add about that. Loose yukatas, again, like, yeah. Bathroom slippers, I've talked about it, how much I fucking hate them. Just, again, I think I forgot what, yeah, I told you, get on your tippy toes when you're in them. Get on your tippy toes, and make sure you take them off when you're exit the bathroom. Garbage disorder, I talked about garbage. I believe in a blog post I did on Instagram, and yeah, I talked about it. Yeah, I remember I talked about it at length on an episode way back in the day. So go back and listen to that. Playing with chopsticks, which is simple, pretty much chopsticks. An easy rule of thumb that I heard talked about chopsticks is chopsticks should not be used for anything except for eating, right? They should only, so pretty much just putting food in your mouth. That's it. Not cutting, not playing with stuff, not drumming, not like dusting off like the shreds of wood, like nothing like that. Just only for what their intended purpose is. If you keep that general rule of thumb, your table manners will be nice. 11, this is a really important one. Pointing, right? Yeah, pointing is considered threatening to someone in Japan. Pointing your finger at someone is really, really rude and kind of off-putting to that person, really scary, a bit shocking for them, even if you're friends with someone. Like, hey, no. Like, I was taught this like my first day of training in Japan as an English teacher. Like, I remember what the person said. He said, use the lobster hands. Use the lobster hands. Like, and it's really true. Like, don't point at, and again, if you're listening to this in audio, fucking watch the YouTube, damn it. Watch the YouTube, get my numbers up. Okay. But don't point at someone like this. Point like this. Open hand, like you're, I don't know, holding an egg. I don't know if that makes any sense. Like if you want to catch like a raw egg or something like that. I don't fucking know what this gesture. I've never used this before I came to Japan, but I use it all the time now. Like, when you're talking to someone, this is how you're gonna talk to them. Like, over there, over that way. Can you come here, please? Things like it is kind of things how you should do things. Speaking of which, this is how you ask someone to come. Like, yeah, kochi kochi kite. But this is very disrespectful. Like, you only can do this to people who are at lower level than you, like little kids or junior people. Older people might do that to you, and you guys just take it. But never do that. Like, I made a mistake and almost did it. I did it one time to I was like abroad with some Japanese people. Long story, I'm not gonna tell it. But a person who was older than me, and we were drinking, and like I kind of was like, hey, for like 1 second, and I was like, oh shit, and I just like took it back, and I was like, hey, can you come over here in like the right way? So just be careful with that pointing and telling someone to come towards you. Okay. Speaking of which, speaking of okay, we're gonna get a little dirty now. All right. Speaking of which, that same guy I talked to you about who scolded me in that restaurant, he told me like a joke that a dirty joke, I'll tell you, which I didn't know up until that point, because I was still studying Japanese. I didn't get into dirty Japanese yet, but basically he was like, why is it that foreign people are coming but Japanese people are going? It doesn't make sense. So I just remember that like forever. That's how I learned. Like, so basically in English, to orgasm you say you're coming, right? But in Japanese, iku or ikimasu means I'm going, actually. So it's a complete reverse, of it. I don't know, maybe this stuff is, I'm not, okay, never mind. I'm not gonna get all technical why, but just in general, like, that is kind of a language word vocabulary difference. If are, whether you're a guy or a gal, if you just a little vocabulary for you to know, for you to say, for you to listen out for, that, yeah, foreign people come, Japanese people go. Okay. Hey, I don't know. All right. Anyway, bathing dirty. Yeah, I've talked about hot springs. Again, hot spring towels. Talked about that. 14. Cleaning the towel with the oshibori. Cleaning your face with the oshibori is a moist towelette. Is a oshibori. Yeah, you're supposed to clean. It's mildly rude to clean your face with them, and then using them throughout the meal. I would say so too. I I got in the habit of doing that because I saw Japanese people do it, but that's actually a bad habit. I used to actually clean my head with it, like at some point in time, and people used to always laugh, so I thought it was okay. But sometimes Japanese people laugh at you doing something which is rude, but they're laughing because it's so unexpected. And I think that was one thing I had to learn, like, don't fucking do that, especially in summer when it's really, I mean, it's really nice to have a cool, cold, moist towelette when it's really fucking hot outside, but you just don't do that. Don't wipe your face with it. Yeah, it's you might want to, and it feels really good if you do, but you're not supposed to. It's just for your hands. That's all. And especially if you, for me, again, I'm a fan of like the pic. If you go to the article that talked about the way it's wrapped up, it doesn't need to be rolled up that kind of way. I kind of like. I wish I had something to demonstrate. I kind of fold my. Do I have anything I can show you guys? It's all the way over there. Like I kind of fold my moist towelette, but as long as for me, if it looks kind of similar to the picture, basically like a hot dog, then you're fine. I would say, but just keep it neat. It looks a lot better than if you just like have a little pile of towel like thrown everywhere. Like if you keep it like organized, neat, kind of in some way, the way it came to you, it makes a really good impression on you. For me, I pay attention to what someone does with their towelette, and it lets you know their level of sophistication, especially if you go to a nice place. Like, for you to kind of keep your towelette organized, it lets people know your level of neatness. Honking. Honking, I'm going to skip. Direct speech, this isn't the one I wanted to talk to you about, especially if you're studying Japanese. And probably this will be the last one I'll say. Generally, I didn't know this. Yeah, it's a really important thing. Anata, right, which is you, right? You're not going to really use that word in Japanese at all, right? I didn't know it until a while, but if you directly translate, anata no namae wa nan desu ka, for example, like what is your name, is a little bit unnatural, right? It's too direct, to say directly to the person, like what's your fucking name, kind of thing, onamae wa, onamae wa nan desu ka. A lot of times people just cut the anata out of it, and it's implied, just because it is a more indirect way of speaking. So if you're studying Japanese, like it took me a while to get it, and some people who were talking. I remember one time I forgot I was doing something online, and someone from another Asian country who was studying Japanese, maybe Chinese or something, was either chatting with me or talking with me or something like that, and she kept using anata, 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 and I was like, yeah, this just feels really unnatural. And I talked to my desu, and after that I talked to my Japanese teacher about it, and he explained to me, yeah, we don't really use it, it's just too direct. So I didn't know that immediately, and you will rarely hear it. Again, if you watch shows like Chibi Maruko-chan, for example, if you're studying Japanese, you'll pick up on that as well. You rarely hear people use that, except when they're kind of upset or something like that, So, okay, all right. So let me end things right there. This should be this is almost a 45-minute episode. I wanted to go 30 minutes, but my voice kind of held out better than I thought it would be. So, all right, y'all. So hopefully you enjoyed this one, and I will holler at you next time. All right, y'all. Peace.